Adam, thank you so much for being with us. And obviously, you have been all over this story. Adam, why was now the time for Tom Brady? What led to this decision?
Molly, I think that he knew where he was going, and this was in his mind. And there was a reason that his family was with him in the box during the playoff games, the 2 playoff games that they played, and his children were there to savor every moment. He wanted to do it, and he was going to do it when he was ready to do it, which happened to be this morning. But he was going to retire, and I think he knew this in the final weeks of the season, maybe a little bit longer. Don't know exactly when he came to the decision, but he knew that there was a certain wistfulness in his appearance and the way he played and the way he looked. And today he must have felt like this was the right time. And I think part of it is probably the fact that we had the conference championship games last week. We have the Super Bowl next week. He doesn't want to take away from what happened this past weekend. He doesn't want to take away from what's going to happen next week, a week that he knows more about than any player who's ever played the game before. And so in a supposedly quiet week where much of the news revolves around NFL head coaching hires, Tom Brady thought that he could slide in right here at this time, knowing what he knows, knowing where he was going, and announce his retirement today. And I think he also wanted to do it early enough so that the Buccaneers could move on with their future, so that they would know heading into the offseason with plenty of time to spare that they would have the time they need to go address the quarterback position. So in his mind, I think he had come to this decision a while ago. He's giving the Buccaneers the time they need. He's doing it in a week where there's no real football game other than the Pro Bowl this upcoming week. And there's no reason to delay what he knew he was going to do, which is retire, which he has made official this morning.
Adam Schefter, appreciate you as always, all the great work. Let me ask you this question here. As we sit here and reflect on Tom Brady reaching this point where he's made this decision, it's one thing for him to say, it's time, I've done enough, it's been 22 years. It's another thing when you look at the organization that you're playing with and you say, you know what, I'm not as enamored with this any longer as much as I used to be, say, a couple of years ago when I first arrived. My question is, how much, if at all, did the situation in Tampa, whatever that situation is, because you know it better than most, how much did that factor into him reaching this decision at this point in time in his career?
Well, Stephen, I think everything factors in. I really believe, as Tom described on his Let's Go podcast with Jim Gray, that the driving factor here was his family. And he talked about the fact that the family, his family, has sacrificed so much for him to do what he's done at such a high level for such a long period of time. He did this every day the last 6 months during football season, as he pointed out. He's done this every day for 22 years during football season. It's a sacrifice to do what Tom Brady does at the level he does, just as it is for his family. Look, anybody who is as dedicated to their job as Tom Brady is, who lives, eats, and breathes it, there's a sacrifice from the family. There's a toll it takes on them. And Tom has pointed this out. He recognizes it. And he said, it's time for me to sacrifice a little bit for them. So when you bring up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm not going to say that's not a part of it, of course, but I don't believe that's the driving factor. Let's not forget, even though he plays like he's 24, and even though he still might win the most valuable player in the NFL next week, he is 44 and will be 45 this summer. He wasn't going to play forever, even though sometimes it seemed like it was the case. And so, in my mind, this is more about a personal decision, a family decision, wanting to do different things in life, wanting to move ahead to the next chapter, more than it's about Gronk is a free agent, or the Bucs have certain players to sign, or I didn't like the way this offense was run in this quarter of a game. I don't think it's about that nearly as much as the larger picture.
Adam, when you said he wants to do other things, and we know he has TV12 and his own clothing company and production company, et cetera, what are some of his professional aspirations post-football?
Well, I think you're seeing them unfold. I think we've seen that happen, right? I think it's been a case where he's dabbled in these industries, and he has wanted to spread the word and the gospel of TB12, and I would imagine that will continue to be a part of his future. But I don't know exactly what's ahead for Tom Brady, other than I am sure it's more greatness because of the way he has always operated, because of the way he's always been. Whatever he decides to do, he's going to succeed at. And so he can sit back and the options will come in. That will happen. It happens with any great athlete who walks away from the game. They may have ideas of what they're going to do, and then other ideas and opportunities present themselves. I have no idea if somebody from Apple or Google is going to approach Tom Brady and they want him to be an ambassador for their company, right? We don't know if he's going to want to take Stephen A's job next year and sit on the desk with you, Molly, and
snap.
debate. I mean, that could happen. We don't know what he's going to want to do. Maybe he's going to want to supplant Peyton Manning on Saturday Night Live. And there are a lot of things that Tom Brady can do. He can do whatever he wants to do.
Well, I will say this, Adam. The one job he has no shot at all of succeeding in is this job for one reason and one reason only. And by the way, it's not just because he could have replaced me. He doesn't really like to talk. He really doesn't. He doesn't like to talk that much. Can't do it. Can't do first take if you don't want to talk, Tom. Can't do that, Adam. You know that.
Adam, just planting seeds there, Stephen A. Keep you on your toes.
I know that. Ain't that something? Ain't that something?
Hey, there's nobody like Stephen A. Stephen A.'s job is safe. That's the way it is.
We know that's for sure. He is
Tom can go a lot of places and do a lot of things. That's not one. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a feeling he's got some other offers he's interested in.
I think he's all right.
But I kind of like the way it sounds. We replace Stephen A. with Tom B. You know, it kind of flows.
Right. Yeah.
Now he could sit across from me for a day, but that might be to his peril. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that would be a lot of fun. Adam Schefter, you're the best. Thank you so much for all that context. We appreciate it.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.